Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to another episode of Wisdom in Whispers. Ursula von der Leyen was recently re-elected as President of the European Commission, and her re-election sparked a lot of laughter and surprise in the European Parliament. During her speech, a Polish legislator sharply criticized her, and within less than 2 minutes, the entire Parliament burst into laughter. You really need to watch this video to believe what happened. Now, imagine making a small mistake at a grocery store, like being off by 20 or 30 cents when submitting a receipt. Such a small error could cost you your job, but things seem to work differently at higher levels of power. If you're the President of the European Commission and you make deals worth $45 billion with a company like Pfizer, even with weak evidence supporting those deals, you still get re-elected. This is what's so surprising about Ursula von der Leyen's recent re-election. Ursula von der Leyen has been elected again to lead the European Commission for another 5 years. In the European Parliament, there were 707 votes cast. Out of these, she received 401 votes. The remaining members either voted against her, abstained, or cast invalid votes. Despite this, she secured more than the required 360 votes needed to win. This whole situation is quite astonishing. Many admire Ursula von der Leyen for her ability to deceive people, gain support from different political groups like the Greens and the People's Party, and continue her leadership in the EU for another term. Here are some important events related to her actions. On October 14, 2022, the European Public Prosecutor's Office started investigating how the EU procured vaccines. There were questions about the transparency and fairness of these deals. On April 4, 2024, the European Public Prosecutor began looking into claims of conflicts of interest, corruption, and interference in public affairs involving Ursula von der Leyen. These claims were related to the vaccine deals she was involved in. On the same day, April 4, 2024, due to the Pfizer deals, Ursula von der Leyen became a major focus for European prosecutors. Despite these serious allegations and ongoing investigations, the inquiry into these claims has ended, which allowed Ursula von der Leyen to focus on her re-election as President of the European Commission. It's remarkable how, despite all these controversies and investigations, she managed to get re-elected and continue leading the European Commission. My friends, you heard right. Some amazing and shocking things are happening in Germany right now. I can hardly find the words to express my concerns without risking another video ban. But I'm really curious about what you think of all these accusations. Please share your thoughts in the comments if you'd like. But that's not all. There's a big debate happening in the European Union, EU, about whether to give a controversial figure, Ursula von der Leyen, another chance. A Polish member of the EU Parliament recently spoke out against her. She made it clear that Ursula has made many mistakes in the past and present, and argued that re-electing her would be a huge error. She believes that Ursula's policies are harmful, leading to increased poverty and a controlled economy focused on climate change, which she thinks is going too far. The parliamentarian said that Ursula's first election was a serious mistake and urged other EU lawmakers to use their common sense and not repeat it. She believes that Ursula's actions have been unlawful and that she should be held accountable. What do you think of this parliamentarian's bold statement? Do you agree with her? Share your thoughts in the comments. Personally, I think she's right. Re-electing Ursula von der Leyen as the President of the European Commission would be a disaster. Why? Because we are currently dealing with many unresolved corruption issues, a dysfunctional banking system, harmful green policies that are hurting the economy, deindustrialization, and questionable actions against the sovereignty of individual EU member states. On top of that, There have been dubious vaccine deals that cost billions of euros. Given all these problems, how can we expect Ursula von der Leyen to do a better job in another term? This unfortunate decision highlights the urgent need for major reforms in the EU, but it's likely that von der Leyen will block these necessary changes. This is why I believe that we need new leadership that can address these issues effectively. Von der Leyen's re-election as the President of the European Commission is expected to cost the EU and its people further years of lost productivity. What can we expect from her in the upcoming term? We'll hear from Thomas Fröhlich, an EU parliamentarian who is finding it difficult to believe the election results and is very shocked. He finds it absurd that von der Leyen has been re-elected. What does this mean for the EU? We can anticipate more efforts to re-educate the populace, increased migration, stricter environmental regulations, and ongoing conflicts. Naturally, the AfD, Alternative for Germany party, voted against von der Leyen, as she has already stated she will not attend the traditional visit to the Hungarian presidency. This raises the question, how much of a nuisance is she to Hungary? It's clear what von der Leyen wants. She appears to be trying to undermine Hungary's government, especially after Viktor Orban's peace negotiations in Washington, Beijing, Moscow, and Kyiv. Besides Zelensky, any peace seeker must also talk to Putin. That's the essence of diplomacy. It involves more than just meeting with people who share your views. Critics argue that Orban lacks the legitimacy of authority to speak for Europeans in negotiations with leaders like Putin. But what kind of legitimacy or authority does von der Leyen have? Her name is not on any ballot for the EU election. However, Viktor Orban has the mandate of the Hungarian people. By effectively using this mandate to mediate issues between Ukraine, Russia, China, and the United States, Orban has made Europe appear as a sovereign actor in world politics, a role that should have ideally been taken by Germany. Viktor Orban has taken on the challenging role of a statesman, acting as a mediator between conflicting parties, something that no other European leader seems willing to do. This approach is not just bold, but also represents a wise foreign policy strategy. However, despite these efforts, he faces opposition and punitive actions from Ursula von der Leyen. What does this reveal about the current state of the EU leadership? Instead of adopting a balanced and pragmatic approach that could serve the interests of all Europeans, Ursula von der Leyen seems to prefer pushing the European Union towards oligarchization. Her leadership appears focused on anti-national and anti-European objectives, intensifying divisions rather than fostering unity. For those of us who advocate for sovereignty and nationalism, this situation makes it clear that having more leaders like Orban could actually strengthen Europe's position on the global stage. If the serious allegations against von der Leyen are proven true, that she has squandered billions of public funds and engaged in dubious vaccination deals, she should be held accountable and face legal consequences. Such actions not only undermine public trust, but also suggest deep-seated corruption within the EU's highest ranks. Von der Leyen's role as Commission President has been marred by numerous controversies, bringing disgrace to the office. It's surprising that she didn't leave politics in 2016 when her PhD plagiarism was confirmed. The University of Hanover officially stated that her degree was plagiarized, yet there were no repercussions. This is a prime example of how often people in power can evade accountability for their actions. Additionally, during her tenure as Germany's defense minister, von der Leyen was involved in a significant scandal. She paid millions in consulting fees to external firms. In 2017, it was revealed that her ministry had allocated large sums of money to outside consultants like McKinsey without a proper tender process. This raised serious suspicions of corruption and favoritism, particularly because her son was working for McKinsey at the time. leading to accusations of conflicts of interest. These incidents paint a troubling picture of von der Leyen's leadership and integrity. Her re-election as the President of the European Commission could mean more years of lost productivity and missed opportunities for the EU and its citizens. Instead of fostering growth and unity, her policies may continue to deepen divisions and hinder progress. The re-election of Ursula von der Leyen signifies several troubling trends for the EU. We can expect continued efforts to re-educate the populace according to specific ideological lines, an increase in migration policies that may not align with all member states' interests, stringent environmental regulations that could stifle economic growth, and persistent conflicts within the Union. The Alternative for Germany, AfD party, naturally voted against her, especially since she has openly refused to attend the traditional visit to the Hungarian presidency. This action alone raises questions about her intentions towards Hungary. It appears that von der Leyen is intent on undermining Hungary's government, particularly after Viktor Orban's peace negotiations in Washington, Beijing, Moscow and Kyiv. Diplomacy requires engaging with all parties, including those we may disagree with, such as Putin, to seek peace. Critics often argue that Orban lacks the legitimacy of authority to speak for Europeans in negotiations with leaders like Putin. However, von der Leyen's legitimacy is also questionable since she was not directly elected by the European populace. In contrast, Viktor Orban has the mandate of the Hungarian people, and by effectively using this mandate, he has positioned Europe as a sovereign actor in global politics, a role that ideally should have been taken by Germany. Ultimately, the current situation highlights the urgent need for significant reforms within the EU. We need leadership that prioritizes the interests of all Europeans and promotes unity rather than division. The ongoing controversies and alleged corruption surrounding von der Leyen underscore the necessity for transparency, accountability, and genuine representation in the EU's leadership. An inquiry committee was established to determine whether the funds were used legally. However, during this investigation, sensitive data from the Defense Ministry was deleted. Many issues with the contracts remain unresolved. My friends, do you see the pattern here? Confirmed plagiarism, yet she retained her title. Despite spending millions of tax dollars, records were mysteriously deleted. Now another scandal involves billions of dollars related to Pfizer. Frau von der Leyen, well done. People have fallen for your schemes, and they've proven effective. It's astonishing, my friends. The more serious the fraud, the lower the penalties, and the longer the tenure for the government official. Let's look at this in more detail. After allegations of misuse of funds and corruption surfaced, an inquiry committee was set up to investigate the Defense Ministry's spending. This committee aimed to determine if the funds were used appropriately and legally. However, during the investigation, crucial and sensitive data from the Defense Ministry was deleted, raising further suspicions of wrongdoing. Many questions about the contracts and the nature of the payments remain unanswered. It reflects a disturbing trend. Ursula von der Leyen was accused of plagiarism in her PhD thesis, yet she retained her title and continued her political career without facing significant consequences. Despite millions of tax dollars being spent under her watch, essential records were deleted. This pattern continued with a massive scandal involving Pfizer, where billions of dollars were at stake. Now turning our attention to East Germany, my beloved people, you have the power to initiate change and set clear standards. However, the current political parties, the CDU, SPD, Greens and Free Voters, have demonstrated that nothing will change under their leadership. They have shown a lack of willingness to address these issues and implement necessary reforms. Be advised, however, to be cautious about the collaboration with Sarah Wagenknecht. Always remember, A communist is a communist. What do you think about these incredible claims? Is this EU member attempting to make a significant point? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your opinions on Ursula von der Leyen's potential 5-year term would be greatly appreciated. It's crucial to ensure that these concerns are widely seen and heard. Please like or subscribe to the video, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any updates, and share this video as widely as possible. Von der Leyen's re-election signifies several troubling trends for the EU. We can expect continued efforts to re-educate the populace according to specific ideological lines, an increase in migration policies that may not align with all member states' interests, stringent environmental regulations that could stifle economic growth, and persistent conflicts within the Union. Critics often argue that Orban lacks the legitimacy of authority to speak for Europeans in negotiations with leaders like Putin. However, von der Leyen's legitimacy is also questionable, since she was not directly elected by the European populace. In contrast, Viktor Orban has the mandate of the Hungarian people, and by effectively using this mandate, he has positioned Europe as a sovereign actor in global politics, a role that ideally should have been taken by Germany. Ultimately, the current situation highlights the urgent need for significant reforms within the EU. We need leadership that prioritizes the interests of all Europeans and promotes unity rather than division. The ongoing controversies and alleged corruption surrounding von der Leyen underscore the necessity for transparency, accountability, and genuine representation in the EU's leadership. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time and support. Remember to share, like, and subscribe to show your support. I'll see you tomorrow back here on YouTube. Take care.